The text came at 2:17 a.m., a gut punch that lit up my phone screen like a flare in the dark. Jude's too clingy, man. I don't know if I can do this. My heart stopped, then shattered, as I read Theo's words to his friend, sent carelessly, as if I were a problem to be solved. I'm Jude Carter, 24, a graphic designer with a penchant for overthinking and a heart too big for my own good. I grew up in Atlanta, where love was loud family dinners and quiet evenings sketching by the window. Theo Morales, my boyfriend of 8 months, is 25, a barista and aspiring musician with a smile that could melt glaciers and a habit of dodging hard conversations. We met at a Brooklyn open mic, where his voice, gravelly, soulful, pulled me in like a tide. I thought we were building something real, something that could weather the storms of New York's chaos. But that text, glowing on my screen in our shared apartment, told a different story. It wasn't supposed to end like this. We'd laughed over cheap pizza just hours earlier, his arm slung over my shoulder as we walked through Prospect Park. I'd felt safe, like maybe I'd finally found someone who saw me, really saw me. But now, sitting on our creaky couch, the city humming outside, I felt like a fool. Clingy? Me? The word burned. I'd only ever loved him fiercely, maybe too fiercely, but I thought he wanted that. I thought he wanted me. The apartment was too quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies your heartbeat. Theo was asleep in our bed, oblivious to the bomb he'd just dropped. I could confront him now, wake him up, demand answers. But what would that solve? He'd charm his way out of it, flash that crooked grin, and I'd forgive him before I even understood why I was hurt. No, I needed to do something bigger, something that would force him to face me, face us. By morning, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to cry or beg. I was going to show him what love looked like, even if it scared him, even if it scared me. The next day, I suggested we take a walk in Central Park. Theo raised an eyebrow but agreed, probably sensing something was off. The air was crisp, spring blossoms bursting pink against the skyline. We wandered past joggers and street musicians, the city alive around us. I kept my hands in my pockets, my heart racing as I rehearsed what I'd say. Theo rambled about a new song he was writing, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. We stopped by the Bethesda fountain, its water sparkling under the sun. I turned to him, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. Theo, why did you tell Marcus I'm clingy? His face froze, eyes widening like a deer caught in headlights. What? How, Jude? I didn't. Don't lie. I cut in, pulling out my phone to show the screenshot. His shoulders slumped, guilt written all over him. I didn't mean it like that, he stammered. I was just venting, you know? Sometimes it feels like a lot. A lot. My voice cracked, betraying the hurt I'd tried to bury. Loving you is a lot. Showing up for you, planning dates, caring about your dreams. That's too much. He looked away, jaw tight. It's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just I don't know how to handle it sometimes. You're so intense, Jude. Intense. The word stung, but it also lit a fire in me. I stepped closer, close enough to feel his breath hitch. Then learn, I said, my voice low, trembling with conviction. I grabbed his jacket, pulled him in, and kissed him. Hard, unapologetic, pouring every ounce of my heart into it. When I pulled back, his eyes were wide, searching mine. Learn how to love me, I whispered, or let me go. For a moment, the world stopped. The fountain's murmur faded, the city's pulse slowed. It was just us, two scared, flawed people standing on the edge of something fragile. Theo didn't speak, but his hand found mine, squeezing tight, like he was afraid I'd slip away. We didn't talk about the kiss for the rest of the day, but it hung between us like a storm cloud. Back at our apartment, Theo was quieter than usual, strumming his guitar absent-mindedly while I sketched at the kitchen table. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Lena, a 26-year-old photographer with a knack for cutting through my chaos. You okay? You've got that Jude's overthinking vibe. I typed back. I kissed him and told him to learn how to love me. Now what? Her reply was instant. Damn, Jude. You're bold. Give him time, but don't shrink yourself for him. Lena was right. I'd spent too long dimming my light to make others comfortable. Growing up black and gay in the South, I'd learned to navigate spaces that didn't always welcome me. I'd fought for my place in the world, in my art, in my relationships. But with Theo, I'd let myself believe love meant holding back, being less. No more. That night, I cooked dinner, spaghetti with homemade sauce, the kind my mom used to make. Theo sat across from me, picking at his plate. This is good, he said softly, like he was testing the waters. Thanks, I said, meeting his eyes. You gonna talk to me, or are we pretending nothing happened? He sighed, setting down his fork. I'm sorry, Jude. I didn't mean to hurt you. I've never been with someone like you. Someone who loves so hard. It scares me. His honesty hit me like a wave. I wanted to be angry, but all I felt was sadness. For him, for us. Love's supposed to be scary, I said. It's supposed to make you feel alive. If it doesn't, what's the point? He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in days. I don't want to lose you, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Then don't, I replied, my heart pounding. But you've got to meet me halfway. The next week was a tightrope walk. Theo tried. Small gestures, like bringing me coffee at my studio or texting me lyrics he'd written about us. But the tension lingered, a silent question. Could he love me the way I needed? I threw myself into my work, designing posters for a local queer art festival. The theme was unapologetic, and every stroke of my pen felt like a declaration. I was done apologizing for who I was. One evening, Theo invited me to his band's gig at a dive bar in Williamsburg. The place was packed, the air thick with beer and anticipation. He took the stage, his guitar slung low, and sang a song I'd never heard before. The lyrics were raw, vulnerable, about a love that terrified him but felt like home. When he looked at me in the crowd, I knew it was about us. After the set, he pulled me outside, away from the noise. I wrote that for you, he said, his breath visible in the chilly air. I'm trying, Jude. I'm really trying. I wanted to believe him. But love isn't just trying. It's showing up, every day, even when it's hard. I took his hand, my thumb tracing his knuckles. I see you, I said. But I need more than songs. I need you to talk to me, to fight for this. He nodded, eyes glistening. I will. I promise. But promises are fragile things. A week later, I overheard Theo on the phone with Marcus again, his voice low but clear. It's still a lot, man. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. My heart sank, but this time, it didn't break. I was angry, not at him, but at myself for hoping he'd change overnight. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I called Lena and poured my heart out. He's not ready, I said, pacing my studio. Maybe he never will be. Then you know what you need to do, she said gently. You deserve someone who's all in, Jude. Not someone you have to teach how to love you. She was right, but the truth hurt. I loved Theo, his laugh, his music, the way he made me feel like I could conquer the world. But love isn't enough if it's one-sided. I had to choose myself. That night, I packed a bag and left a note on the kitchen table. Theo, I love you, but I can't keep begging you to love me back. I'm staying with Lena for a while. Figure out what you want. As I walked out into the city, the weight of my choice settled over me. It wasn't freedom, not yet, just the ache of letting go. But for the first time in months, I felt like I was moving towards something, not running away. Lena's apartment in Harlem was a sanctuary of mismatched furniture and Polaroid photos pinned to the walls. She didn't ask questions when I showed up with my duffel bag, just handed me a mug of chamomile tea and pointed to the couch. You're home as long as you need, she said, her voice warm but firm, like she knew I was teetering on the edge of falling apart. I didn't sleep that night. My phone stayed silent. No texts, no calls from Theo. I kept replaying our last 8 months, searching for the moment things went wrong. Was it when I planned that surprise weekend trip to the Catskills? Or when I stayed up late helping him rewrite lyrics? Maybe it was always there, a crack in the foundation I'd ignored because I wanted so badly to believe in us. The next morning, I dragged myself to my studio in Bushwick, a cramped loft filled with paint cans and half-finished canvases. Work was my anchor, always had been. I poured my hurt into a new poster for the Queer Art Festival, bold lines and vibrant colors screaming defiance. The word, unapologetic, blazed across it, a reminder to myself as much as to anyone else. Around noon, Lena texted, "You good? Come to the gallery tonight. New exhibit. Might take your mind off things." I didn't feel like socializing, but sitting alone with my thoughts was worse. So I went. The gallery was a sleek space in Chelsea, all white walls and soft lighting. Lena's photos lined the walls, portraits of queer couples, their love captured in fleeting glances and intertwined hands. I stopped at one. 2 women, one black, one Asian, laughing under a street lamp. The caption read, "Love is the courage to be seen." My chest tightened. I'd been seen by Theo, hadn't I? Or had I just been hoping he'd see me? "Jude," a voice pulled me out of my spiral. It was Amara, a 27-year-old non-binary poet I'd met at the festival planning meetings. Their short locks were dyed purple, and their smile was kind, unguarded. "You look like you need a drink." We ended up at a corner table, sipping cheap wine and talking about art, identity, and the messiness of love. Amara was easy to talk to, their words sharp but warm, like they'd seen their share of heartbreak but hadn't let it harden them. "You ever feel like you're too much for someone?" I asked, the wine loosening my tongue. "All the time," they said, leaning back. "But the right people? They'll love you for it, not in spite of it." Their words stuck with me, a quiet truth I wasn't ready to fully embrace. When we parted ways, Amara squeezed my hand. "You're enough, Jude. Don't forget that." Days turned into a week, then 2. Theo texted a few times, short, tentative messages like, "Can we talk?" and "I miss you." I didn't reply, not because I didn't miss him. God, I did, but because I needed him to mean it. I needed him to fight for me the way I'd fought for him. I threw myself into the festival preparations, working late nights with Amara and the other organizers. Their energy was infectious, a reminder that community could hold you when love let you down. One night, as we sorted flyers in a cramped office, Amara caught me staring at my phone, Theo's name lighting up the screen. "You gonna answer that?" they asked, not judging, just curious. "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me wants to hear him out. Part of me's scared he'll just hurt me again. Amara nodded, like they'd been there. "Love's a risk, but so is shutting it out. Just trust your gut, okay?" That night, I called Theo. He picked up on the first ring, his voice shaky. "Jude, I thought you'd never call." "I almost didn't," I said, sitting on Lena's couch, the city glowing outside. "But I need to know what you want, Theo. For real." He was quiet for a long moment, then, "I want you. I've been a coward, and I'm sorry. I didn't know how to handle how much you love me. But I'm learning. I want to learn." His words were a lifeline, but I wasn't ready to grab it. "Words aren't enough," I said. "You hurt me, Theo. You made me feel like I was too much, like I had to shrink to keep you." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "I was wrong. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be better. For you. For us." We talked for hours, peeling back layers of hurt and hope. He told me about his fear of failing me, of not being enough for someone as vibrant as me. I told him about my fear of losing myself in love again. It wasn't a fix, not yet, but it was a start. The festival was a week away, and my life felt like a canvas stretched too tight, vibrant, but ready to tear. Theo and I were talking again, but it was cautious, like stepping onto thin ice. He showed up at my studio one afternoon, a coffee in hand and a nervous smile on his face. "I wrote something new," he said, holding out his notebook. "Can I show you?" We sat on the floor, surrounded by my sketches, as he read me lyrics about a man learning to love without fear. His voice trembled, but his eyes never left mine. When he finished, I didn't know whether to cry or kiss him. "It's beautiful," I said instead, my voice thick. "I meant it," he said, every word. I wanted to believe him, but trust is a fragile thing, rebuilt slowly, brick by brick. "Keep showing me," I said, taking his hand. "Not just with words, with everything." He nodded, pulling me into a hug that felt like a promise. For the first time in weeks, I let myself hope. The night of the festival arrived, a riot of color and sound in a Brooklyn warehouse. My posters lined the walls, Amara's poetry echoed through the speakers, and Lena's photos glowed under the lights. Theo was there, helping set up, his presence steady but not demanding. We hadn't defined what we were yet, but we were trying, and that was enough for now. As the night wound down, Theo found me by the bar, his eyes bright with something new. "Courage, maybe. Dance with me," he asked, holding out his hand. The music was slow, a soft indie ballad that wrapped around us like a blanket. We swayed together, my head against his chest, his heartbeat steady under my ear. "I'm still scared," he whispered. "But I'm here." "Me too," I said, looking up at him. "But I'm not going anywhere." The festival marked a turning point, but not a finish line. Theo and I were rebuilding, but the cracks in our foundation still showed. We spent more time together, intentional time, coffee dates in the village, late-night walks along the Hudson, talks that dug deeper than either of us was used to. But every step forward came with a shadow of doubt. Could he really change? Could I trust him not to pull away again? One morning, as we sat in a diner on 14th Street, Theo reached across the table and took my hand. "I started therapy," he said, almost shyly. "I want to understand why I keep pushing you away." I blinked, caught off guard. Therapy wasn't something Theo talked about lightly. He'd always brushed off the idea, saying he'd figure things out on his own. "What changed?" I asked, stirring my coffee to hide my nerves. "You," he said simply. "Losing you made me realize I've got stuff to work through. I don't want to keep hurting you because I'm scared of my own feelings." His words hit me hard, not because they fixed everything, but because they showed he was trying to meet me halfway. I squeezed his hand, a silent thank you. "I'm proud of you," I said. "But it's not just about me. You've got to do this for you too." He nodded, his eyes soft but determined. "I know. I'm in it for the long haul." Life kept moving, as it does in New York, a relentless current pulling you along. I was swamped with freelance projects, my art gaining traction online. Theo's band booked more gigs, and I went to every one, cheering from the crowd as he poured his heart into his music. But the real work happened in the quiet moments, when we cooked together, when he opened up about his fears of not being enough, when I admitted how hard it was to let my guard down again. Lena noticed the change in me. "You're lighter," she said one afternoon as we sorted prints in her studio. "Like you're not carrying the weight of the world anymore." "I'm trying to trust again," I said, taping a photo to the wall. "It's scary as hell." "Love always is," she said, grinning. "But you're Jude freaking Carter. You've got this." Her faith in me felt like a lifeline. I'd spent so long proving myself, to my family, to the world, to Theo. Maybe it was time to believe I was enough, just as I was. One night, Theo invited me to a rooftop party in Dumbo, hosted by a friend of his bandmate. The city sparkled below us, a sea of lights stretching to the horizon. We stood by the edge, shoulder to shoulder, the air cool against our skin. "I used to think love was supposed to be easy," he said, staring out at the skyline. "Like, If it was real, it would just work. I laughed, nudging him. That's rom-com nonsense. Love's messy. It's work. Yeah, he said, turning to me. But it's worth it. You're worth it. He kissed me then, soft and deliberate, like he was promising something bigger than words. I kissed him back, letting myself believe in us again, even if just for that moment. But love, like life, doesn't follow a straight line. A month later, Theo canceled plans last minute, saying he needed space to process some stuff from therapy. My stomach dropped, old fears rushing back. Was this him pulling away again? I didn't confront him. I'd learned that pushing too hard only made things worse. Instead, I called Amara, who'd become a steady presence in my life. We met at a coffee shop in Bed-Stuy, their purple locks catching the light as they listened to me vent. It's not about you, they said, stirring their latte. He's doing the work, but growth isn't linear. Give him room, but don't lose sight of what you need. Their words grounded me. I wasn't the scared, heartbroken Jude who'd left our apartment months ago. I'd grown, too, stronger, surer of my worth. When Theo called later that night, I didn't let my fear take the wheel. I get that you need space, I said, but I need you to communicate. No more shutting me out. You're right, he said, his voice raw. I'm trying, Jude. I hit a rough patch, but I'm not giving up. We talked it through, not fixing everything, but laying another brick in our fragile trust. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Spring turned to summer, the city sweltering under a relentless sun. Theo and I were still navigating our way back to each other, but it felt different now. Less like walking on eggshells, more like building something new. We started couples counseling, a suggestion from his therapist that I'd agreed to reluctantly. Sitting in a cramped office with a kind-eyed woman named Dr. Ellis, we learned to talk without tearing each other apart. It wasn't easy. Some sessions left us raw, others hopeful, but it was progress. One evening, as we walked through Prospect Park, the same place where I'd once felt so safe with him, Theo stopped by a cherry blossom tree. The blooms were gone, replaced by lush green leaves, but the memory of that spring day lingered. He took my hand, his fingers steady. I was wrong about you, he said. You're not clingy. You're your home. My throat tightened, tears prickling my eyes. You mean that? I do, he said, pulling me close. I'm still learning, but I'm all in, Jude. I love you. I kissed him under the tree, the city fading around us. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Love doesn't work like that. But it was ours, messy and real and worth fighting for. Months later, we moved into a new apartment in Fort Greene, a fresh start. My art was everywhere. Canvases on the walls, sketches on the fridge. Theo's guitar sat in the corner, his notebooks scattered across the coffee table. We were still learning each other, still stumbling, but we were doing it together. One night, as we cooked dinner, my mom's spaghetti recipe, tweaked with Theo's spicy twist, Lena and Amara came over. The four of us laughed and argued over music, the room filled with warmth. I caught Theo's eye across the table, and he smiled, that crooked grin that still made my heart skip. Later, as we cleaned up, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. Thank you, he whispered. For what? I asked, leaning into him. For not giving up on me. On us. I turned to face him, my hands on his chest. Thank you for learning how to love me. Looking back, I realize our story isn't about a perfect love, but a real one. It's about two people choosing each other, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. It's about me, Jude Carter, learning that I'm enough, and Theo Morales, learning that love is worth the risk. We're not done growing, but we're doing it together, one messy, beautiful step at a time.